speaking of outcomes, we have a student here today who is the embodiment of those outcomes. His name is Joe Solito. He is a 2012 graduate of the Satellite Center here in New Orleans, which is a NTAC school. And he is about to enter his sophomore year at Louisiana State University. He is a first-generation college student, and his major, hope I get this right, is Information Systems and Decision Sciences. Joe has worked extensively already in web design, and he hopes to continue that with his career and eventually maybe work for a PR firm. If you would, join me in welcoming Joe Solito.
How's everybody doing? All right, so over the next few days, as you know, the overall theme is building bridges. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about building bridges. First, I want to show you this bridge. This is the Hale Boggs Bridge, located in St. Charles Parish, which is about 25 minutes outside of New Orleans. What a great person to name a bridge after. Hale Boggs is an inspiration for his great work and dedication, and he strived to do better in his job all the time. He was in office for 30 plus years, and he did some great things. He actually took a major role in the interstate highway system, and the interstate highway system built bridges that span the whole country. This bridge connects Destrehan and Luling. Located in Luling is the Satellite Center. Satellite Center is a NTAC school, though it is an exception to normal NTAC schools because it only offers classes to juniors and seniors. I was lucky enough to go my junior and senior year. So why is the Hale Boggs Bridge important? Because I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't there. I crossed that bridge every day to experience the Satellite Center, and notice I did say experience because it was indeed an experience. So I want you to consider something. I want you to imagine that you're walking on a plane of land, and this plane of land stretches farther than your eye can see. And as you're walking, you come up to a body of water, and it puts you to a halt. Now, whether this body of water is a river, a lake, or an ocean, the point is it stops your progression. That plane of land that you're walking on represents your life, and that body of water represents a challenge that you face in life. Life's going to present you with challenges that put you in a halt, that stop your progression as a human being. So what do we do, right? How are we going to get over this? Because we want to continue. Well, our first option and the most obvious option is to build a bridge to get over. Well, what if you're not ready to build a bridge? What if you don't think you have the ability to build a bridge? Well, some people might build a levee. And for those of you who are not familiar with levees, they're basically just walls that keep the water at bay if it gets high. The problem is levees break. So you have to decide if you want to live at the mercy of that challenge and give it the opportunity to overcome you, or if you want to build a bridge and get across. So how are bridges made? Well, bridges are made with tools. Well, we have our own tools, innovation and communication. Innovation is the tool to create something new, a new plan of action. Because remember, no one bridge is built like another. Our second tool is communication. This is the tool to create networks with people, because we can't build bridges alone. So innovation. You know, there's challenges, they come in many shapes and sizes. That's why there's all kinds of bridges. We have to decide which bridge we need to use to get over this challenge. When engineers build bridges, they first look at what that bridge is going to cross over before they actually make the design. For example, the Hangzhou Bridge, Bay Bridge in China, is 22 miles long and is the longest ocean crossing bridge in the world. When engineers were building this bridge, they had to decide how they were going to build it because in the bay, the tides are so strong and there's water typhoons, so they were wondering how that's going to affect the structure. So they built the bridge in a slight S form to withstand the elements. So just like that, we have to analyze the challenge ahead of us and build accordingly. Our next tool is communication. Like I said, this is building networks with people so that when you're building a bridge, you'll have somebody to help you out. Have you ever seen a bus driver pass another bus driver? They always wave to one another, right? Same thing goes with boaters and bikers. We don't think much of this interaction, but it actually creates a foundation of trust and respect. That's why whenever you see a bus broken down on the side of the road or a boat broken down in the middle of the lake, you know if there's not somebody already there helping, there's someone on the way. So we may just be saying, you know, that's common decency, right? To help somebody in need. But how many times are you driving on the road or on the interstate, or maybe you're on the way to a conference, and you see somebody broken down on the side of the road, and you feel reluctant to help them because you're not connected to them in any way. I know that's how I am when I'm driving. So if we take the ideals of the bus driver and the boaters and the bikers and we bring them into our workplace and our classroom, and we create these foundations of trust and respect with our coworkers, when we're building our bridges and we get stuck halfway, we're going to know somebody's there to help us out. At the Satellite Center, I learned how to use communication to fill these networks with people. And I learned how to keep those contacts well. That's why I still keep in contact with my former team members from the Satellite Center better than I do with my former peers from high school, and my former facilitators better than I do with my former teachers. About 3 weeks ago, a former team member and I took a road trip to see the Grand Canyon. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. If you haven't seen it, you should go see it. The reason I'm showing you this is because there is, in fact, a body of water that runs through this canyon, the Colorado River. And it is very hard to see from the top of the canyon, pretty much impossible from most places. Unless, of course, you hike in. So what I'm trying to tell you is, sometimes, although the challenge is right in front of you, it may not be easy to see. So the first thing we have to do is notice the challenge. And sometimes we have to dig deep. For example, 3 miles deep. That's how far we had to hike before I could take this picture of the river. And it was another 4 miles down to the bottom. So how far are you willing to go to progress through your challenges and become a better you? And of course, while we were having challenges finding the water in the canyon, the squirrels were having trouble finding the water in our bags. So let's talk about education, right? Because that's why we're all here. So even education sometimes needs education bridges. Because we don't want something as important as education to sink under the challenges that it faces. Core standard education has faced challenges for ages. First thing is the way it teaches. It's standard, and that's the problem. Now, parents like standard because it means performance that meets a standard. But what it also means is like everyone else. But no one student is like another student, so why are we trying to put them in a standard? Students are put in these standard core classes and given standard core textbooks and are expected to learn everything they need to know for the real world. But it's not working. Next thing is, standard core, it's outdated. Our world today is so dynamic that it's always changing in technology. So for standard core to have this static strategy and to cling to the static strategy may be comforting, but it's not preparing the kids for the real world. And the last thing I have to ask you about standard core is, where's the culture? I feel like there's no room for culture in standard core education. And part of growing up and moving on into the real world is learning how to be a vital part of society. Now, whether this means putting input into community decisions or upholding traditions or just being a team member, it should start where the student spends most of their time in the classroom. NTAC Network is building the bridges over the challenges that core standard faces. Firstly, the method of teaching, project-based learning. Dynamic approach to education where students are given the opportunity to explore real-world problems and find real-world solutions. Now, there are projects in standard core education, don't get me wrong, but the projects are more like desserts. See, the teacher will teach the whole lesson, give a reading assignment, maybe show a little video, and then they'll give them a worksheet and say, here's your project, go home and do it. But the problem with that is projects shouldn't be the dessert. They should be the main course. And NTAC provides that. NTAC provides students with real-world projects that involves the students solving real-world problems, building real-world bridges. We can't expect our kids to be ready for the real world if we don't give them real-world challenges to overcome. NTAC Network embraces new technology. My first year at the Satellite Center was the first year that they gave MacBook Pros to the media class students. And I know it wasn't easy for them to buy and place these $2,000 computers in the hands of all the students, but they did it because they knew that in the colleges we'd be going to, and the industries we'd be working in, this is the technology we'd be using. They were preparing us. I actually heard a rumor that the Satellite Center was going to get a 3D printer this upcoming year, and I'm very jealous about that, but consumer available 3D printing is the newest wave of technology, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did get one. The Satellite Center and all NTAC schools have their own culture and their own attitude, and you'll see that if you walk in any of them on any day of the week. When you walk into the Satellite Center, you'll instantly feel the professionalism, the community, and the creativity in every aspect and every person there. It was a friendly and positive environment where if I had a problem, I felt like I could go to any facilitator, anybody that worked there, and talk to them. This is my favorite shot because it's a group shot of some of the greatest influences in my life and a reminder of the positive environment I was able to learn in thanks to NTAC. So with that, I'll leave you a quote. Being challenged in life is inevitable, but being defeated is not. When you're faced with a challenge on your journey of life, are you deciding that you're going to build a levee and be at the mercy of that challenge? Or are you going to pick up your tools of innovation and communication and build a bridge to get across? Thank you very much. I'll be around. My email's above. Feel free to send me a message. Enjoy the conference.